In the middle of London, construction workers digging near Paddington unearth something nobody wants to find on a job site, an old, unexploded bomb, buried since the war and now sitting right under a busy city street. Work stops instantly, and the site is sealed off within minutes as word races up the chain of command. Miles away, on a quiet firing range, Major Tranter and his army bomb disposal team are pulled straight off training mid-exercise and rushed into the city to deal with it, picking up a stand and officer, Corporal Hansen, along the way. Everyone on the team knows a device this old can behave far more unpredictably than anything built today. Police move fast, clearing an entire square mile around the site before anyone even fully understands how big the bomb might be. Officers go door to door through apartment blocks and townhouses, telling residents to grab only what they can carry. Families, including an elderly man in a wheelchair, are pulled from their homes street by street and funneled toward Hyde Park, told only that it is safer to leave than to ask questions. In the chaos, one resident bolts back toward the cordon, desperate to grab his laptop, and is stopped cold by officers who are not taking any chances with a live device sitting so close by. At the crater itself, the team cuts power to the whole district, since a stray electrical spark near a bomb this old is the last thing anyone wants, and sends in a small tracked robot to help drain the flooded pit hiding the device underwater, monitoring every move through a bank of laptop screens. But not everyone leaving the area is who they claim to be. As the last residents clear out, a crew dressed as water company workers, complete with jackets, tools, and forged paperwork, slips quietly into one of the emptied apartment blocks while the streets outside sit completely deserted. Down in the basement, the disguised crew moves through storage corridors with flashlights, checking locked cages and mailboxes as they work their way toward one wall in particular, the one separating the cellar from a bank vault next door. Back at the crater, Major Tranter runs through his own private ritual with his team before touching the bomb, pouring out a small round of drinks for the job ahead, a habit that says more about how dangerous this work really is than any official briefing ever could. The team finally gets its first real look at the device and finds something unusual, a bomb built with two separate fuses instead of one, which immediately complicates every single step of the disposal plan. As they begin the slow, delicate work of trying to disarm it piece by piece, the crew next door keeps drilling through the cellar wall, and at one point narrowly avoids a routine building inspector who very nearly stumbles onto exactly what they're doing behind that wall. A device called a clock stopper is carefully fitted onto the bomb's fuse mechanism, meant to freeze the timer in place and buy the team precious extra time to work through the rest of the procedure. At almost the same moment, the crew finally breaks all the way through into the vault next door and starts emptying safety deposit boxes as fast as they can, cash, gold bars, loose jewelry, anything of value they can carry out with them. Strangely, they leave a stash of drugs sitting completely untouched in one of the boxes. Whatever they came here for, it clearly is not that. Then comes the part nobody wanted to hear. The bomb turns out to have a second fuse, one still fully live, built into the original design for maximum terror and confusion, capable of going off at any moment over the next 48 hours regardless of anything the team does to the first one. A young soldier keeps pointing out a strange, shiny mark on the casing, insisting it does not look right, but the major waves it off as nothing more than corrosion. Then the clock stopper suddenly fails, and the timer starts running again, forcing Tranter into a risky last resort procedure with almost no margin left for error. Miles away, in a police control room full of screens, Chief Superintendent Greenfield and her analysts watch drone thermal footage and spot something odd, a heat signature near the bomb site that does not match any of the Army's own known equipment. Unsure what it means, but unwilling to ignore it, they radio straight through to the crater and order the entire bomb disposal team to stop drilling immediately, no matter how far along they are. Officers move through the apartment block floor by floor, searching for whoever or whatever is generating that unexplained heat signature, checking rooms and stairwells one after another. The disguised crew stays perfectly still and hidden in the shadows, barely daring to breathe, and the search comes up completely empty. With the all-clear finally given and no threat found anywhere, the cordon around the anomaly lifts, and Tranter's team gets back to the far more urgent job of finishing off the bomb. At last, after building a sandbag wall and buying themselves a little time, the planned controlled explosion goes off, sending a massive wall of dust and debris rolling across the entire site as soldiers dive for whatever cover they can find. For a few long seconds, nothing at all is visible through the haze. When the dust finally settles, the team scrambles to do a quick head count. Everyone is shaken and covered head to toe in grime, but remarkably, everyone is still alive. Not everyone nearby is so lucky. In the chaos surrounding the blast, a police officer working the outer cordon, P.C. Newman, is found badly hurt in a narrow back alley, seemingly caught up in something that has nothing to do with the bomb itself. His partner scrambles over the radio to call for an ambulance, then takes off running after whoever left him like that, unaware of just how much else is unfolding only a few streets away. With the police still focused elsewhere, the disguised crew hauls their loot up onto the rooftop of the apartment block. They're working quickly and quietly through more than one equipment glitch, including a drone with a blade that keeps sticking. They assemble a set of delivery drones designed to fly the stolen cash, gold, and jewelry straight out of the police cordon, right over the heads of the very officers still searching for whatever caused that mysterious heat signature in the first place. Not everyone manages to get out clean, though. 2 members of the crew are spotted fleeing the building on foot, and police give chase through narrow streets, tight alleyways, and eventually down into an underground parking garage lit only by flashing blue lights, closing the gap fast at every turn before the pair finally manage to slip away into the surrounding city. Back at the station, detectives start putting the pieces of the robbery together for the first time and realize just how badly they were played. Whoever pulled this off did it hiding in plain sight the entire time, walking straight through an active police cordon dressed as nothing more than ordinary utility workers simply doing their jobs. The crew scrubs down their van and swaps out the license plates to avoid detection, then drives it straight back out through several police checkpoints without raising a single eyebrow from the officers waving them through one by one. Meanwhile, back at the apartment block, officers sit down with the family from the very flat where it all started, a young man named Raheem and his elderly father, who calmly explained that they simply handed over their cellar keys to men they believed were legitimate workers from the water company. Out at a remote barn well outside the city, the crew changes into fresh clothes and finally hands everything over to Ludo, an older fence and family patriarch who commands quiet respect from everyone in the room. He burns their overalls and radios on the spot to destroy any trace of the job, then starts sorting carefully through the hall, and buried among the cash and jewelry is something far more valuable than anyone expected, a stash of uncut diamonds. Almost immediately, the group starts arguing over exactly how the enormous payout should be split between them. Then Ludo takes a much closer look, peering through a jeweler's loupe at one stone after another. His expression slowly changes, and he realizes the diamonds are not real at all. They are fake, worthless glass dressed up to look like a fortune. Furious, he immediately turns on the one man in the crew who identified the diamonds as the target in the first place, demanding to know how he could possibly have gotten it so wrong. Ludo's men grab him without warning, accusing him outright of setting the whole crew up for a fall. He swears he had nothing to do with it and begs them to listen, but nobody is in the mood to hear it. Before he can even begin to properly explain himself, he is shoved into the trunk of a car and driven off, with Ludo's men calling it nothing more than a little further questioning down the road. Back in the city, investigators uncover something that changes everything about the case. The bomb's chemical signature does not match a genuine wartime device at all. It traces straight back to the army itself, raising uncomfortable questions nobody expected to be asking about their own side. The news is passed straight up to Major Tranter, who has no idea yet how close to home it will eventually lead. Out on a lonely country road, the man locked in the trunk keeps desperately pleading with his captors, insisting over and over that they have gotten it all wrong. His own crew, though, has other plans entirely. They ambush the moving car out on the open road with a sniper watching the tree lean. A violent shootout erupts between both sides. Vehicles crash off into the surrounding fields, and in the resulting chaos he is pulled free and out alive while Ludo's men are left behind, subdued or worse. Police finally manage to put a name to the man behind it all, Giorgio's Carolus, nephew of the very family that originally leased the flat the crew broke in through. An international alert goes out within hours to every airport and border crossing, and he is tracked all the way to Heathrow Airport under a completely false identity, slipping past an armed search at the gate and onto a departing flight with only seconds to spare. But the biggest shock of the entire investigation is still coming. Detectives trace the case back to Raheem, the very same man they had calmly interviewed as a witness just days earlier, and realize with a jolt that he is the same interpreter Major Tranter personally brought over from Afghanistan and resettled in the country years before. His brother Payam, it turns out, was the night security guard on duty at the bomb site itself. A raid on Tranter's own home turns up unexplained evidence hidden away in his private workshop, and a border alert quietly goes out for both the Major and Raheem, 2 men nobody suspected until now. Thousands of miles away in Istanbul, Carolus finally meets up with what remains of his crew at a quiet restaurant table over tea, still visibly shaken by how close the entire job came to falling apart in the space of a single day, and already thinking about what comes next. Moving through a jewelry market in the old part of the city, they sit down with a dealer and finally offload the real stones for an enormous fortune, watching the massive payout land on a phone screen before quietly embracing and going their separate ways for good. Then, without warning, the story jumps back 10 full years to Afghanistan. Major Tranter's unit, working closely alongside a local translator named Raheem, moves cautiously into a remote village tucked deep inside a rocky canyon. greeting the wary local elders and trying to gather word of enemy movement from them before things have any chance to turn dangerous. Out scouting the surrounding terrain, the soldiers stumble onto something nobody was expecting, a young diamond trader named Carolus, bound and clearly left for dead by a group of armed captors passing through in pickup trucks. Before anyone can fully react to what they are seeing, gunfire suddenly erupts, and a full-scale ambush breaks out around them in the open desert, with one soldier discovering he has stepped directly onto a hidden pressure plate and cannot move without risking everyone nearby. Under heavy fire, Trainer's team fights its way through a scattered minefield step by careful step just to pull Carolus out alive, cutting wires and clearing pressure plates by hand while bullets fly around them. The two men work desperately together for those first few chaotic minutes, simply to survive the firefight. It becomes a moment neither man will ever forget, the exact origin of the decade-old bond between Tranter, Raheem, and Carolus that quietly runs underneath everything that happens years later, back in London. That's it for this recap. Like, subscribe, and comment the movie you want to see next. See you in the next one.